Let's set up the storm control feature on ASW1's Fast Ethernet 0/1. Let's have some fun with this. We are going to put some artificially low values so we can see what happens when the violation occurs so that upper threshold is breached. Although the values would be low, they would be too low for a production environment. So let's type in configure terminal interface Fast Ethernet 0/1 storm control. And let's take a look at broadcast traffic. We're going to set our level, and that level is going to be based on bits per second. And once we specify bits per second, we can specify kilobits per second, megabits per second, or gigabits per second. I'm just going to set it for 10 kilobits per second. Now that's really, really low, but in order for us to generate to simulate a broadcast storm, we're just going to keep it low here. And then it's asking us for a falling threshold. I'm going to set the falling threshold to 1K. So let's analyze what happens here. The command is show storm control. Show storm control. We can see here that interface Fast Ethernet 0/1 has been enabled for storm control. It's currently in the forwarding state. So packets will be forwarded through this interface. However, if a storm occurs, the upper threshold is 10 kilobits per second. The lower threshold is 1 kilobits per second. And currently, it's 0 bits per second that we have received. So let's go ahead and generate just a broadcast ping with a size of 1500 bytes. So we're going to ping the broadcast address for the 10110/26 network, and we are setting the size to 1500. So let's do that, and now let's run back over to ASW1, do show storm controls, do show storm control, do show. All right, there we go. Look at that. We can see that earlier there was a syslog message, and it said storm control, we filtered. So there's a broadcast storm detected on Fast Ethernet 0/1, and a packet filtering action has been applied on the interface. Unfortunately, we weren't quick enough to see what happened in order to cause that. If we scroll down a little further, we'll see that we caught it here. Because remember, we're dealing with 1 second intervals. That's all we're dealing with is 1 second intervals. I'm not quick enough with my fingers. But notice we did catch it, luckily. Fast Ethernet 0/1 is now blocking for that 1 second interval because the current value was 12.9 kilobits per second, which is above the upper threshold of 10 kilobits per second. And we will not unblock that port until we get back below 1 kilobit per second, which we have now. As a result, we are forwarding. We can also set up for storm control an action. So we set up an action such as send an SNMP trap, as well as, let's say, shut down the interface. So that would be storm control action shutdown. That would be to error disable the interface if we have that particular rising threshold breached. So let's look at show storm control again. Show storm control. All right, let's do it. Let's see what happens. I predict interface Fast Ethernet 0/1 goes into the error disabled state because of this. So let's generate that traffic as quick as possible. Let's go back. There we go. Look, error disabled. Storm control error detect on Fast Ethernet 0/1. We're putting Fast Ethernet 0/1 in the error disabled state. Are we going to come out of the error disabled state? No. No, not automatically here, because if we look at the output of show error disable recovery, let's find it. Let's find it. What are we dealing with here? Storm control. Ooh, it's disabled. So we haven't enabled it for storm control, which means that we have to remove the offending device that's causing the broadcast storm. And then after that, what can we do? We can manually reset that particular interface with the shut no shutdown command. So configure terminal, interface fast Ethernet 0/1. If I type in shut and then no shut, what'll happen is we bounce the interface. And by bouncing the interface, it resets the interface. And we are now perfectly fine. So if you notice here, it says storm control, error. Oh, look at that. See, we didn't remove the offending device. We had another storm control put us back into the air disabled state because our thresholds are still set too low in our example. So if we use the air disable recovery mechanism instead, it'd be air disable recovery. And in this case, the cause would be storm control. And let's change the interval of air disable recovery to, I think 30 is the lowest, 30 seconds. So if we just wait here 30 seconds, we'll see that the interface or the air disable recovery mechanism tries to come out of the air disabled state. And if it still detects the storm, it's going to put it back in the air disabled state. If not, it's going to leave it up and operational. So a few more seconds here. I know 30 seconds can be a really long time when you're sitting here listening to me. But no problem. We'll get past these painful 30 seconds and we'll be able to see the air disabled recovery mechanism recover from the storm controlled air disabled state. And it looks like everything's okay right now. Looks like the storm has subsided and everything's pretty good. There's 3 different verification commands for storm control. One for broadcast, one for multicast, and one for unicast. If you type in show storm control with no other option after it, it means broadcast. So this output here is displaying the broadcast filter state for storm control. We're forwarding right now. The upper threshold they set was 50%, the lower was 30%. There's only 1.33% so far of the traffic being broadcast. So no worries there right now of having a broadcast storm. For a multicast, you type in show storm control multicast. Filtering state is forwarding right now. The upper was 30,000 packets per second, lower 20,000 packets per second. Right now we're sitting at 0 packets per second in regards to multicast. And then for the unicast, show storm control unicast, right now it's blocking. They said 30 megabits per second being the upper, the lower being 30 megabits per second because they didn't set it at all. So whatever, if you don't set a lower, it automatically equals the upper. And right now it's 37 megabits per second. That's why the filter state is blocking.